Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Kyle Clark. Tonight, Pueblo City Council voted down a proposed anti-abortion ordinance that referenced a law from the 1800s. It was likely a test case designed to spark a legal fight that would go clear to the Supreme Court, where anti-abortion groups hope justices would implement a nationwide abortion ban. Pueblo City Councilwoman Regina Maestri introduced that measure that would use the Federal Comstock Act from 1873 to ban the mailing and receiving of items used in abortions. She hoped that federal law could be used to restrict abortions even in a state like Colorado that has broad access. The city's legal department recommended that the city not pass the ordinance, argued that it violated at least 2 state laws and would set up a legal battle that could go to the Supreme Court. Listen to what they said.
I think councils have the right to make bad policy. That's their right, and I'm not going to stand in the way of that right.
Well, partway through the night, it failed by a 4-3 vote. Colorado's Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser had sent a letter to Pueblo City Council last month warning that he would take them to court if this passed. An anti-abortion law firm had offered to represent Pueblo at no cost.
A container with white powder has led to a big investigation at an apartment in unincorporated Arapahoe County. This happened on South Willow Street, not far from Parker Road. The sheriff's office says a family found that container on their front porch about 6:30 tonight. Deputies say they brought it inside their apartment. When they opened it, it exploded. 3 people were taken to the hospital as a precaution, none of them seriously hurt. South Metro Fire says the powder has come back negative for any hazardous material. Experts are trying to figure out what it exactly is. What started with serving a warrant ended in a deadly shootout today in Elizabeth. A man shot at law enforcement and an Elbert County deputy shot back, killing him.
9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us with this. And Janelle, this is having a ripple effect in that small department right now.
That's right. The Elbert County Sheriff's Office is a small department to begin with. Now, after today, they're down 2 deputies. And the sheriff says current staff will have to make up for the deficit. One Elbert County deputy is recovering from minor injuries. Another is on administrative leave, per department policy, after firing his weapon. Sheriff Tim Norton says it's the last thing he wants to see.
We need more resources. We have to be prepared for anything out here. It may not happen very often, which we're very thankful for, but we have to be ready and prepared for it.
A shooting like this is rare in Elbert County. Sheriff Norton says his staff will feel the impact.
And now we have 2 people off after this shooting, and that we're already 5 short. That'll make us 7 short now until they get back up on the road and working again.
The sheriff says the office will be down to 3 deputies on a shift, covering the entire county. An even smaller county that rarely sees a shooting like this, Clear Creek County. The sheriff's office there says it also knows the challenges of staffing.
We're looking at 2 to 4 deputies on patrol covering a 400 square mile county. So when we're down a deputy for whatever reason, then it puts a strain on the other deputies that are on duty.
Jenny Fulton with Clear Creek County says it depends on the case, but it can take time before a deputy is cleared for duty.
I think that typically once a deputy is cleared in an internal and an external review, they can return to some degree of duty, whether that be desk duty, or it may not be full duty. They may not be fully back on patrol yet.
The Elbert County Sheriff's Office says it'll try and recruit more deputies to fill the need. Sheriff Norton says otherwise, they'll have no choice but for deputies to work overtime. The Elbert County Sheriff says this will likely be a record-breaking year for calls for service. The sheriff projects that they'll respond to more than 17,000 calls by the end of the year. Janelle Finch, 9 News.
After making it into the 80s yesterday, highs dropped into the lower 70s today after a weak, dry, cold front moved through this morning. Temperatures are going to bounce back, though, into the lower 80s tomorrow with more sunny and breezy conditions across the Front Range.
Kathy Saban, it will be October-y.
Oh, gosh, after tomorrow, maybe. I mean, darn it, we've got elevated fire danger tomorrow and temperatures back close to 80 degrees. But by the weekend, that's, Kyle, when we're going to see that fall-like change. And this is the storm offshore from California, center of circulation northwest of Seattle. It's out there, but it's coming, and it may have enough cold air support to bring mountain snow and a chance for showers in Denver Friday late in the day through Saturday and maybe early on Sunday. That's a big change for us. Watching that wind forecast out of the east and southeast, the winds are picking up, and that means elevated fire danger as temperatures soar tomorrow. Down to 51 in Denver after highs in the mid-70s today, so that kind of feels nice. Weather headlines: a warm, dry, and windy Wednesday. Red flag warnings may be posted for some areas due to the elevated fire danger, but we have mountain snow coming in as part of our weekend forecast and a little bit of rain for Denver, which I think we're all excited about. I'll have more on the timing and impact of that coming up.
Today, investigators in Douglas County announced an arrest in the case of a missing woman from 5 years ago. Javier Alex Martel and Jennifer Bramer were both arrested in the death of Kimberly Bell.
A warning, some of the details in this story are pretty tough to hear. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause has that.
Today marks a significant step towards our commitment to justice for the family and friends of Kimberly Bell, who was tragically murdered in July of 2019.
5 years after Kimberly Bell was last seen, Douglas County Sheriff Darren Weekly says a grand jury indicted 2 people in her death. Javier Alex Martel is charged with murder. Jennifer Bramer is facing charges of accessory to a crime and identity theft. A copy of the grand jury indictment says this started on July 22nd, 2019. Investigators say Bell wanted to go car shopping, picking up her friend Bramer and Bramer's boyfriend Martel. They stopped in the parking garage of the RTD Lincoln Station in Lone Tree.
Martel became enraged with Bell and put his arm around Bell's neck, pulling her into the back seat of the vehicle. At one point, it's alleged that Martel stopped choking Bell just for a few moments. Then Martel decided to finish the job and then continued to choke Bell until she was dead.
From the parking garage, court records say Martel and Bramer then drove around for a while before heading to a Home Depot to buy an axe. Then they drove up to Estes Park.
Martel removed Bell's body from the rear of the vehicle and took it to a close by location and proceeded to dismember Bell's body. Martel then put the dismembered body in trash bags and put it into the rear of the vehicle in the trunk.
The indictment says just days later, officers found Martel and Bramer at a hotel in Louisville with Bell's ID. Court records say Google location data would paint a picture for investigators about Bell's location that night, as well as searches on her account, like take a tracking system out of a Ford Focus and does phone ping location if off. Records say Bramer initially told investigators she knew nothing about her friend's disappearance, later telling them she'd witnessed her murder that was committed by Martel and that they'd used Bell's debit card to buy gas after she was already dead. Bell's body has never been found. Sheriff Weekly says solving a cold case without a body is tough.
It's a big deal. We've never had a case quite like this in Douglas County.
But he says investigators never gave up. And 5 years later, he hopes this break in the case will be the start of giving Bell's family answers.
We're glad to get to this point to get some closure for the family.
Douglas County Sheriff's Office says it's still actively investigating the case, asking anyone who has information about Martel or Bramer, believes they may have seen something, to give them a call.
A man is accused of hitting a person with their car in Littleton in an act of road rage. It happened last night near the intersection of Broadway and West Powers. Police say 41-year-old Renee Cook got into a minor crash with another person. That escalated into an argument. They say the other driver got out of their car. Cook ran them over, and then he drove off. Police tracked him down and arrested him. The person is accused of hitting, is hospitalized in critical condition. Maryann Martin, a nationally known road cyclist and Boulder resident, is in the hospital tonight after a serious crash. Our partners at the Denver Gazette report Martin was descending through Sunshine Canyon on October 6th when she apparently overcorrected on a turn at a high rate of speed and crashed. Martin suffered a collapsed lung, concussion, fractured clavicle in 2 places, fractured collarbone in 2 places, 12 broken ribs, and road rash. You may recognize the name Maryann Martin. She won the Women's Tour de France course, covering 670 miles in 29 hours, 39 minutes, and 2 seconds in July of 1984. Martin was inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame in 2012. She was a 2020 inductee in the U.S. Bicycling Hall of Fame. After spending some time in the ICU, Martin will continue to be monitored and kept in the hospital for at least another couple of days.
A lawsuit claims the death of a man inside the Aurora ICE Detention Center could have been prevented. 39-year-old Melvin Calero Mendoza was detained there in May of 2022 after seeking asylum. 5 months later, he died. His children are now suing the company that runs the facility and a doctor who works there.
Melvin died because the medical staff here failed to diagnose and detect a dangerous blood clot in his right leg. Melvin requested to see a doctor 3 times in the weeks leading up to his death, complaining consistently of unbearable pain in his right leg.
We reached out to the company that runs that detention facility and have yet to hear back. Denver police are planning another one of those month-long operations cracking down on expired tags. So to do this for all of November, they will temporarily hold off on a fairly new policy, because in May they stopped pulling drivers over for minor traffic stuff, including expired tags. But the department spent the month of July focusing on that specific issue because they got so many complaints from the community. We talked about it with Chief Ron Thomas in August.
Low-level traffic stops have no impact on traffic safety or public safety. In fact, I think that they could have a negative effect.
Yeah, but people really wanted to see it done, and it was pretty successful. So, Chief Thomas told us in that interview that more community complaints could drive them to do it again, and the department says that's what happened. They do want folks reminded that straight up missing license plates, that is not considered a low-level traffic stop. They will get people for that all the time.